Everybody, hello, and welcome to Into the Odd. We'll be playing through Michael Prescott's Full Dark Stone, and we'll be using the Electric Bastionland playtest from Chris McDowall, which will be the newer edition of Into the Odd. And I've got a great set of players here, and I'm going to let them introduce their characters. And I'm going to start with our original from our last session, Yonarla Cavendish. So Jen, I'm going to pick on you first. So tell us a little bit about Yonarla.
So Yonarla is just the best. She's a former traveling salesperson, show person, and she was an excellent knife thrower. But her circus gang got absorbed by another circus gang, and so now she owes the bigger circus gang a lot of money. She's very vain, and so our rival company, the Dregs Salvage Corporation or whatever it's called, I used to date a mock buffalo, whose name I don't remember because it's not really that important. And she also used to date Onara, the head of Dregs. So that was complicated. And, we ran into each other, and I might have accidentally killed my ex, but I have a new girlfriend named Poppy, so that's nice.
So this is the second one of Onara's significant others that you have in her notion stolen. None of them were charmed or deceived away. They all came to you of their own free will.
I know. It's not my fault. I'm just better.
Right. You are high charisma. And I believe that is anything else we should know about Yonarla. Thanks to Yonarla, we have a lackey who used to work for Onara and the head of Dregs, named Poppy Cheap. I believe you saved her life recently.
I did.
While on a expedition, a salvage expedition gone wrong.
I am very noble.
Yeah, heroic and kind. And I think with that, we'll go over to somebody else who's also heroic and kind, but not necessarily dexterous. Doric. Matt, do you want to tell us a little about Doric?
Yeah, Doric is, first of all, he appears to be short, stocky, and perpetually sweating, as if he's just constantly nervous. But yeah, he's a former debt collector, and he basically got caught skimming off the top here and there, and that's why he's in this in the dire straits that he's in.
Okay.
Yeah, other than that, I guess I'm still exploring who he is.
Right.
Did have some recent misadventures and feel like he was lucky to make it out all in one piece for the most part.
Mm-hmm. And I did want to, I'm sorry, I meant to send this to you guys, but we'll do it because it's really, really fast. For those of you who were in the last adventure, you should roll a d6 and add that to your hit points. And I'll let you do that. And when you're done, let me know, because I'm going to explain a real quick process to you that you also do after each adventure, which will seem very familiar to Black Hack fans. So, well done on that roll, Doric.
Thank you.
I rolled a 5. I can't actually access or edit.
You want me to just pop that in?
Yeah, if you could. I'm
Sure
on a
thing.
tablet, so I don't
Okay,
have
sounds good.
access.
So what you'll do after each adventure, and I meant to send this to you. Sorry, is you will go through each of your abilities, and you will check them to see if they raise. What you do is you roll, and if you roll anything over that ability, you will you'll increase that ability by 1.
Are we rolling a d20?
Yeah, you just roll a d20.
Okay.
However, Doric, I'm improvising a little bit here, but you were in the hospital because you had some paralysis issues,
Okay.
near paralysis issues. So I'm gonna ask you not to check your dexterity.
Okay.
You got pretty close to not being able to move after that hit with the electrical javelin.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So let's not check your dexterity, but go ahead and check your strength and charisma.
All right, I did, and nothing happens.
Okay. All right. And Jen, let me know if you need me to pop in and increase any of your stats.
Yeah, I rolled 11, 11, 18. So all of them?
Nice. Yonarla is also an incredibly lucky character.
Apparently.
All right. So, Yonarla and Doric recently had some adventures that investigating an area where a bunch of mockeries went missing, and came back with some valuables, and so have been able to put some money toward finishing off their debts. And last time you worked with a couple of people by the name of Jules and Scrim, who are not available for this particular job you're on tonight. So you've got some more colleagues, and I'd like Beth. Would you go ahead and introduce? Is it Jonita, who goes by Blast?
Yeah. Jonita or Blast, is a qualified deconstructor.
Nice.
And see, she's big, has bright red hair, always dusty from breaking things. Probably talks pretty loud because a life of blowing things up leads to hearing loss.
Right.
But I don't talk very loud, so maybe that's a terrible character choice. And let's see. She's in debt because she took down the wrong building.
Wow. Okay.
Not sure how that mistake was made. It was someone else's fault, definitely.
It was definitely someone else's fault, but since there's no corporate insurance, you get stuck. Everybody gets stuck with a share of the bill. Completely unfair. And you are armed with a pretty stocky little sledgehammer.
Yep.
You also have a blowtorch.
Yes.
And something that sort of looks like it propels fire away from it. That may not be useful after you use it. You've got a few pennies, but not much to your name. And you have a pet mole. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. I found him. It was actually the building that the wrong building.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I found him in the rubble, and he had kind of an injured leg, and I felt guilty anyway. So I decided to take care of him, and he travels around in my coat pocket everywhere.
Oh, nice. All right. And perhaps because this job tonight actually is on an island that's kind of slowly sinking into one of the rivers that flow through the vast city of Bastion. You've hired somebody or brought along somebody who has very specific watery talents. Someone who you might say he's so appropriate for this job that it's sort of fishy. That was for you, Dylan.
Yes. I think he answered an ad.
Yeah.
So
this is Khalu. So over to you.
Yes. Khalu Muscombeak is background was an integrated foreigner, but he's tall, bald, and has long webbed fingers and toes, and doesn't wear shoes either.
Mm-hmm.
He has a weird gun. It fires vibrowaves, which are they don't give you any pain, but if they finally kill you, they cause an explosion.
Wow. Okay.
So, and he's originally from the city of Sunk, also known as the Abyssal City, and one of his his kind, they've adapted to breathe underwater, and see in the dark.
Okay.
So he's
So
just a little fragile with one hit point.
Right. He is fairly fragile. So what brought you to Bastion, the center and capital of humanity? There, is it Khalu?
Khalu, yeah.
Khalu. Okay.
Khalu. Like Clue with an extra
Khalu.
syllable. Khalu. So, quick question. Did I miss? Am I supposed to give myself a debt or?
I'll ask you about that in just a moment.
Okay. Well, I'm wondering if that might have something to do with what brought me to.
It could very well.
To Bastion, but I think I'm on in Sunk. There's sort of like the what's that Amish tradition that where you before you really become an adult, you go on the Rumspringa.
Yeah, something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he's on like a Rumspringa kind of thing for where he's just to go out and experience the world, the city, and if you come back, you become an adult in Sunk society.
Right.
And if you don't come back, you just don't come back.
All right.
And you're excommunicated.
How long have you been on your Rumspringa?
Not very long. Long enough to maybe spend all my money and get in a little bit of debt.
Well, you've racked up a substantial debt, kind of an intimidating amount, because you don't become a treasure hunter for the insurance benefits. So tell me about that debt.
I think I cut loose a little too fast and a little too furious, and I think I was just trying to party and kind of live the high life, and ended up borrowing money. Maybe I might have gambled a little bit and got some advances, and I probably have like a patron maybe who was kind of funding me, but knowing that they could hold it over my head.
Wow. Okay. So Khalu, your patron is from Sunk, or is a Sunk excommunicatee?
Yes, a Sunk excommunicatee, whatever.
Okay.
Exactly. Yes.
All right. So you've had somebody who's already come to the big city and decided to stay, has been sponsoring you, which seems like a bad idea. Impressionable youngster that you are. So intoxicants or gambling? Or love? Or a combination?
I was just gonna say yes.
Yes, intoxicants, gambling and
love. Yes.
Yeah, love is intoxicating in and of itself.
And a gamble.
And it's a gamble. And so it's a gateway drug to lots of things. Romance. So what is the intoxicant of choice for Khalu?
Oops. I think it's become. Let's just go with good old fashioned booze.
Okay. All right. So if you'd fill in that debt,
yeah.
And see if I have any more questions for anybody else. Oh, and I need to make a real quick roll, because Poppy has also had an adventure under her. Got an adventure through her, and she also rolls really well for those hit points. And has toughened up since coming to work with you, Yonarla. She's up to 7. Jonita, how long has it been since the fateful blast? How long have you kind of been in the treasure hunting business to try to get out of debt?
It was only a couple months ago.
Okay.
This is I tried a lot of things, but soon kind of accepted that this was the only way I was ever going to make that much money back.
Okay. And how did you come to meet a fellow, sort of ne'er-do-well adventurer named Clovis Rivers?
Let's see. They did I come to meet? I think I just ran into him at a bar.
Okay.
And I don't know. He seemed kind of odd enough to be noticeable.
Right. He always wears. He loves outdated clothing from a slightly more decadent period.
Okay. Yeah. That sounds like him.
Yeah. So when he offered to sort of hook you up with the salvage crew that he was forming, what made you kind of steer away from that?
He didn't seem real trustworthy, and at the time I was just kind of thinking about it. I hadn't quite resigned myself to like becoming a treasure hunter.
Yeah.
But he like kind of planted the seed, and I gave it some thought, and I decided to go with it, even like maybe not with him, but maybe another crew.
Sounds good. All right. Let me give you a little background on kind of what you're doing tonight. As the newspapers are filled with all kinds of stories. The standard story is that Bastion's government is a dysfunctional mess, that no one knows who's in charge of anything, and no one can agree on where they're going to get funding to solve any problems. And that the city, it's amazing that the city has not already fallen apart. But in the midst of that news are ongoing stories about a large, formless mockery that has been popping up from the underground, and leaving weird little gifts for people. Some say children, some say they're leaving weird little gifts just at people's doorsteps. But their coming always tends to herald that something important is about to be found, or maybe what was important that you were looking for is what the mockery left on your doorstep. But no one has taken any photostatic images of this. No one has done a good sketch of it. There's several artist representations of it, but they don't have any sort of coherent narrative to them. Your big rival that all of you have met at one time or another, or you've met someone who works for her, like Clovis, is Honora Dreggs. She was fairly embarrassed recently, in the event that put Doric in the hospital. Her number one sort of right-hand person and girlfriend, Poppy left her, or she left Poppy. Stories differ, but Honora is not one to stay unclaimed or untaken in the romantic realm very long. And she started dating a university professor who Morgulin Corm, who's actually an ogre, and that seems to have been going well. You've not seen much of either one of them at the standard treasure hunter bars and hangouts, and her crew has been remarkably quiet. And it's been for Doric and Yonarla, at least, it's been about 2 weeks since you've had good work. You've obviously made some decent money off your last job. But either you need to set aside that money to pay back debts, pay down interest on debts, or just fund your lifestyle. And it's been time to kind of look for additional work. And Khalu and Jonita are available. And you found yourself headed to an island in the middle of a river. About 100 years ago, this island was pretty kind of a towny, nice place to live. Very reputable. People built some beautiful homes out here. But then the island started to sink. And many of the homes started to sink. In fact, in the middle it was so esteemed that they actually opened a very prestigious private academy where many merchants and bankers sent their children to be educated the way you'd want a young noble child or a young aristocratic child to be educated. And could somebody give me the name? There's several rivers that run through Bastion, but could somebody give me the name of this one?
The Club.
You said again?
The Club.
Like C-U-L-P?
K-L-U-P.
K-L-U-P. The Club. All right. This isn't the only island in the middle of the Club, but perhaps the large pipes of air and heated air and pneumatic message tubes caused the sinking when they cracked. And perhaps the island just was never terribly stable. It was chosen purely for its scenic value. But the last people who had lived on the island officially in any kind of formal official capacity moved away from there about 60 years ago. And now just in the middle of the river, about a mile from where it feeds into the massive Bastion Harbor, there's just this island with a bunch of old houses, and the ones that are near the edge of the island have already sort of like started taking on water. Several of the houses nearby are filled to at least their halfway through their first level. But you can still see the big dome of the school in the middle of the islands. If you look through at the right time of day, you can see sort of the sun glinting or the moonlight glinting off that big dome in the middle of the island. Lately, people have started to see something moving around inside the area, something that was not a storm seal. Storm seals are a lot like very large sea lions. And they, much as sea lions have taken over the areas that used to be San Francisco Harbor, or that they allow, the sea lions still occasionally let humans use the harbor in San Francisco. The storm seals are a little bit larger, and they have gotten a more dominant presence on that on the island lately. They don't tend to become adults there once they move to full adult size, which is nice, because adult storm seals are about 12 feet long, and they fly. So it's great that they are not there on a regular basis, but they are there in the island a good bit, and they're kind of all over the clear water. They're little sort of like inch long sort of minnow forms. They're sort of like the minnow form that they birth. Kind of swarm around the edges, and they slowly grow into something about the size of a mouse. And they look like the cross between a flying fox and a sea lion. Like people from Sunk, they are amphibious. And they really tend to focus on just this particular island. Thank you, Dylan. And Dylan, I have a question for you. Why are people from Sunk especially annoyed with or frightened of storm seals?
Oh, let's see. I think that they I think they're like raccoons that get into our trash and other storage and stuff like that, and they're just a nuisance.
Okay.
But the little minnow ones are a delicacy.
Oh, nice. Okay. What about when they get up to this big, kind of mouse size?
They get gamey.
They get gamey. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And Jonita, what is the most obnoxious thing you've ever seen a storm seal do off the island? Not on this particular island. I mean, this is where they kind of focus their energy and activity. What is the most obnoxious thing you've seen storm seals do when they do land, either by flying or swimming to other parts of the city?
People like along the shore of the river, or the riverbank, especially kids, definitely they can't have any food with them, because the storm seals will just mob them, and like the bigger ones will jump at and grab the food out of their hands.
All right. And Doric, you've seen some stuff that would suggest to you that storm seals have a weird sense for magic. What is the or not for magic, for strangeness, oddities, weirdness, old science, kind of unpacking that word magic there. Storm seals have a weird sense for all of it. What is it you've seen storm seals sort of gather around, hover around, or eat that would suggest that to you?
Yeah, I'm gonna say, they've gathered around, like, for lack of a better term, like places of power.
Okay.
Where and I'm not even sure how to take that. Maybe it's like literally like some sort of old technology for generating some sort of electricity or some form of power, something like that. But yeah, they just seem to have like an uncanny sense for it, and they just gravitate towards it, and maybe try to just kind of claim that space as their own. Yeah, possibly by marking their territory with a special sort of like vomit.
Nice. Okay. Does the vomit get used in any sort of alchemical formulation?
Potentially, yeah. I don't know. That might be above Doric's pay grade, but
Okay.
yeah, he's seen people also collecting it.
Okay.
But who
A
knows
little
what
like
they're doing with it.
ambergris or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Yolandra,
Yonarla.
sorry. I kept apologizing for mispronouncing it while I was pronouncing it correctly, and now I'm jinxed myself. Yonarla, what happened, or what story do people tell? Just a quick, 2-sentence story that explains why no one makes mockeries of storm seals.
Because the storm seals would kill them.
Oh, right. Okay.
They would find them and just destroy them. That would just be silly.
Do they even eat them, or they just sort of leave them dead on the ground?
Okay, they just eviscerate them. It's just a mess, And oftentimes they hunt down the creators. No one wants to fuck with those storm seals. No one.
No one wants to fuck with a storm seal. It's true. A 12-foot long seal is a scary thing.
That can fly? I mean, come on.
Yeah. I mean, they move pretty fast on their own. And all right. Well, all of you are headed out to what has become finally known as Storm Seal Island. Sometimes called Merchants Row because of all the merchants that later became super famous who had houses there before the island started to sink. And it is night because you don't want to be seen going there during the day. You've gotten some leads that would suggest there are mockery-like creations or constructs kind of roaming the island. And that you've learned recently that these strange sort of sightings of mockeries, and for those of you who are new, mockeries are like a cross between a golem and a muppet. They are adorable animal formed creatures that are created and are sentient, and have been given a task or purpose in society. They're certainly treated like second-class citizens in Bastion, but no one's quite sure what life in Bastion would be like without the mockeries doing so much of the specialized work. But these mockery-like creations, and I say mockery-like because they sort of move in sort of an artificial life sort of way, like they have very mechanical or robotic joints. And they've been seen sort of gathering plants or digging on the island, hauling dirt. And then sometimes they especially in the evening, they run around in all fours, and you can hear them fighting with the storm seals. And shortly after these things started appearing, you started hearing loud groans and moans from the island. Most people have not paid much attention to them, but as treasure hunters, you are aware if you don't move on this potential weirdness on Storm Seal Island, know what someone else may move in and find whatever is there in your stead. And you've have you guys hired a boat, or did you take a boat out?
I think it probably made sense to take our own boat.
Okay.
That way, we don't have to depend on anybody else.
Don't have to depend on anybody else. And who was doing the rowing, at least on the trip out there? You've got some pretty sturdy folks.
I was definitely doing at least some of the rowing.
Okay. All right.
Khalu has to face forward because he gets seasick. He's okay in the water, just on the water.
Just on top of the water. It's weird.
Yeah.
Why? Yeah. It doesn't move that much when it's underneath.
Yeah, maybe Doric and Blast are taking turns.
Okay. All right. And you get to the island, and like I said, a lot of the storm seals on Storm Seal Island are not the big 12-foot. None of them are the big 12-foot long ones. The adult ones don't seem to be interested in staying on the island, but you do have a lot of the ones that are about this size, and you have ones that get about as big as a Great Dane. But usually once they get much bigger than that, they sort of lose interest, and sort of go back out to the less populated areas. But for whatever reason, young ones are really drawn to this. And where, there's certainly an old harbor that or an old dock that looks like it's about to fall apart. But you could also pull into some of the houses or alongside some of the streets, try to pull yourself up by ropes. Kind of where are you looking to dock your boat?
Is there an area that's somewhat kind of undercover that the boat would not be obvious that it was docked there?
You can row into one of the houses, especially one of the houses near the old dock.
Like tie
And
off.
essentially, they have what was once a risen, a raised first floor. So you kind of go in through the basement or the garden level, and you can find some. So once you go in there, though, you're going to lose the moonlight. So what are you doing for light? And this is a general understanding of this particular edition, is that you always have any rations and torches and lanterns that you expect you need for the trip out. So you expect, you're roughly expecting you'll get to Storm Seal Island, do some investigations. You might have brought an extra day's, 1 extra day's rations and torches, and lantern oil. So you've always got those things. You've always got food, and you've always got food and a light source. So you don't have to worry about tracking those, or did you buy them? But a lantern is pretty bright, and a torch is pretty dim comparatively. A candle would be good. Sorry, cockroach in my apartment. Startled me. Sorry. And it's always nice when it's caught live on camera. So what are you doing for light?
I'll leave it up to the rest of you because Khalu can see in the dark.
I think a lantern makes sense.
Yeah, Poppy is holding my lantern for me like a little darling.
Oh.
Huh.
All right. So once you get into this sort of house, and start to pull yourself up on the stairs, you can start to see that you were not the only boat docked here. These are little rowboats. They don't really have a name on them or anything like that, but you were not the only boat docked in this particular space. And there's no one else around really. You can pull yourself in, tie off the boat, head up the rickety stairs and get to the front door of the house, and go down to the still semi-dry streets in this old sort of residential area. But you're not the only ones here. And like I said, the island has been partially sunken. There are pools of water everywhere. The streets are still pretty intact, but as you look at houses alongside, some of them are sinking, have sort of broken off. Anything that was built on top of a dock or too attached to a dock has sort of gone out into the water. And now that you're out here, you can see that a lot of there's a lot of damage to the houses, but the school in the middle of the island is still really intact. It's barred and boarded over. They clearly took the expensive stained glass windows that used to be here, have been taken out. But it's barred and pretty much intact. Or the school is pretty much intact, but it is boarded over and barred. Except somebody has pulled the main board away from one of the side doors, or not this one of the big doors. And there's footprints coming and going. What do you do?
Are there any seals around?
You can hear them, but you don't necessarily. Let me check. There aren't any seals nearby. You think what you're hearing is seals at first, but after a bit, it sounds like something moving on the inside of the door. And unfortunately, I don't have a good map of sort of the entryway, or I don't have a great map I can show you that would not reveal the whole thing. But you're sort of standing in the middle of like this. It was kind of an island neighborhood. It didn't have that many streets. If you're familiar with some of the small island neighborhoods in big cities, it's not huge. But there's kind of a big square around the school, sort of in the middle of the island where most of the streets sort of lead. And you can see all this 100, 150 feet away. When something sort of turns the corner of the school coming around from where you were facing, you realize you were hearing things moving around on 2 feet, Yonarla. And whatever it is sort of ducks into the door. It's carrying a bunch of tools and was clearly coming off work. And it seems to be bringing tools into the building.
Looks like we've got competition again.
It is moving sort of stiffly.
Should we burn down the building that they're in?
I mean, I can definitely do that.
Now they are going into the school,
Yeah.
the old school, which is where, this is the most intact structure you've seen.
Anyone got any better ideas? I guess whatever they're here for is inside the building, so maybe if we just go in and kill them? I don't know. We need to get rid of the competition.
There can't be that many of them. If there's only one other boat the same size as ours.
Yeah, and if we get the other boat, we can get a whole bunch of storm seal pelts, and those go for high prices, I tell ya.
Or anything else we find.
So maybe we can sneak up to the building and peer in and see what they're doing inside.
The sneak up to the building plan, and what was the other thing you were considering?
Burning it down.
Burning it down. Now the school is definitely not an easily flammable structure. A lot of these old wooden houses are very decorous, but the school is actually made of brick.
Oh, brick buildings, just like in that old fairy tale, Three Little Goblins.
Yeah.
And the big bad chicken.
And it's got the what was it? I lost my word. It's got that kind of onion dome structure kind of on top that was the popular at the time. When the school was built. And you can see it. It's the classic Bastinian school of it's the old name of the island. It's mostly sort of wiped out. There's boards all around it. It's a typical merchant kids academy. They would have spoke old Bastinian. Because otherwise it's not really an education if you're speaking the tongue you're going to speak at home. So they would have been doing lessons in Bastinian and all that good stuff. So you had also talked about sneaking up. So what are you choosing to do?
Well, I'd vote that we sneak up there, and by we, I mean I'll watch someone else do it because I'm not so great at being sneaky.
I could sneak up and look through the pulled away board without a light.
And I'll cover you then.
And by cover, what do you? So you've got your scatter gun out.
Yeah, and I'm just staying alert for, anything that might happen. Somebody sees him or somebody's watching us. I'm just trying to stay aware and be ready to act.
Jonita, what are you doing?
Are they still like coming in and out, or
no? They seem to be carrying tools in.
Okay.
And once they go in, they don't come back out again.
Okay.
It was just two of them.
Okay.
Sorry, that was not particularly clear. One sec. Yeah. So it was just two of them. And I interrupted you. Sorry.
Oh, you interrupted me not having anything to say.
That's okay.
Yeah, I'll try to get close to the building too. A bit behind Khalu.
Okay.
Since he can see in the dark and he's a little sneakier than I am.
All right. So you guys are
But-
kind of hanging back with your lantern toward the edge of like the kind of the what would have once been the green around the school, where you can see the door that was boarded and then unboarded. Am I getting that correct?
Yeah, where wherever the board ajar is.
Yeah. And what about you, Yonarla? And you've got a girlfriend to boss around too.
No. Gosh. What else is around? Like, that isn't the building. That looks interesting.
Mostly it's those wooden houses. There's a few partially sort of stone or brick houses, but most of the houses seem to be sort of fundamentally made of wood. Largely just because the island isn't very big, and so they had to sort of build out at least part of the house onto the docks. In most cases, and they look like they were originally pretty ornate, but most of the houses have seen better days. The intact structure is the school. And
Is there, like, another entrance to the building somewhere?
not that you're seeing, though, it certainly may be that you could get to something from below. I mean, this is, like I said, this is an island, and lots of the old tunnels they dug to do pneumatic tubes and pump transit and the pneumatic trains they tried to do when they first opened this place. And they did a sky tram originally. So some of the tunnels they built have collapsed, and so that may provide sort of underground entrance through the water.
Well, I don't want to get wet. Okay, I guess I'm just gonna sneak up with the others and
Okay.
peek in the window.
All right.
When we saw the two figures enter, did they have lanterns or torches?
No, they did not.
Okay.
They just had the shovels, and it looked like maybe a hammer. It looked like, digging tools. So a pick, a hammer, some shovels.
Were they both human?
They were both sort of tall and moving in sort of a jostling sort of way. They wouldn't be mockeries, because mockeries don't look like humans, but they moved almost in a mockery-like fashion.
So if we sneak up, can we see? Can we see in the? What can we see inside?
All right. Khalu, make a dexterity saving throw.
Okay.
And just for the audience at home, saving throws are the basic sort of like check in this game. You roll a d20 and try to get equal to or under your score, and that's covers skills, it covers staying out of danger, all that good stuff.
Okay, here we go. A 4. That's under my.
That is definitely under. So Khalu, you are able to sort of guide the group up. You're being covered by Doric from the back. And what are you guys doing for light? You can still sort of make out sort of just by keeping your eyes moving and things like that, you can still make out the basic structure of things going in and out of like the old building. You can still make out the basic structures of the old building. You can see where the door was pulled away, mainly because the brick was sort of whitewashed, so you can see the structure along the edges, and you can sort of see where it was boarded up and where the boarding was pulled away, and you can see those two figures who were a good ways from you. Are you taking the lantern up with you, or are you and this, Khalu, this does not affect you. I just want to make sure I'm giving other people what they can see. Or were you leaving the lantern behind and relying on Khalu's eyes?
I think that makes sense. I mean,
Okay.
yeah, we're just trying to be stealthy here.
All right. So Khalu, you get up. Yonarla and Jonita are sort of behind you. This is where I need to get my map out. And you get to one of the the core entryways of the school. And you can see that even this structure has gotten a little wet and a little watery. And you can see a bunch of the sort of the vole size or mouse sized storm seals sort of like kind of like meandering through this sort of like wet water soaked sort of entryway that has four big pillars. Would have been really grandiose when all the art was installed and they had not taken the paintings down and the windows were filled with stained glass and not with boards. And there's a door sort of leading off. There's several doors leading off this area. Most of them have been boarded up and have remained boarded up, but two have had the boards pulled down. One is off to your left and one is off to your right, and you don't see the things you followed in.
Can we hear them, like behind either of those doors?
Let me check something real quick, just kind of encounter-wise. So to your left, through that door, you sort of hear the sound of tools being dragged. And you can see that the area to the left, you can hear a little bit of sloshing because the area to the left is a little more waterlogged and water soaked. It's possible it goes down. It's possible that portion of the island has taken on more water, got more waterlogged. The area to the right, though, you hear a sound that's a little bit like a machine being worked or somebody twisting a piece of metal. What do you do?
Do we want to pick a side or do we want to split up and two go one way and two go the other?
Are you motioning Doric up with the lantern? Doric and Poppy?
Yeah, I think so. Since these two figures have gone presumably into those two boarded up rooms. Can we pry the boards off one of the other doors? Because we know they're not back there.
Right. You can. Certainly, definitely.
I don't know. Does that sound like a good idea to y'all?
Yeah.
Yeah, what could go wrong?
Nothing, obviously. Yeah. I'm gonna. How many doors are there? There's the two.
There's the two, and then there's two more that will
Okay.
go further into the schoolway. Now,
We have to walk.
using a crowbar to pry that to kind of pry these big boards off will be kind of tricky to do quietly, and you can hear other people in here.
To get to those doors, will we also have to walk past the ajar boards from the other two?
Yeah, those have just been moved aside, so there's no more door. Those two two kind of one to your left, one to your right. There's nothing really over those doors anymore.
So would we have to walk past those though to get to the doors that are?
Yeah. So those would be kind of on the opposite portion of the big circle.
So we probably want to at least look in the open ones first, like just kind of peer around.
Maybe.
Yeah, are the doors open or just unboarded?
They are both unboarded, and there's no more door there.
Oh, okay. I was picturing a door with like, yeah, definitely. We should look in then.
Okay, cool.
Maybe it's a good opportunity to get the drop on somebody else.
Yeah.
Both
Do we
of
have a
them.
mirror so we can like peer in without hold the mirror out and peer in without stuff?
Oh, that's good.
Okay. I will tell you the one on the right has some light coming from it, where the one on the left does not.
I could just hop over really quickly and look in the one on the left that doesn't have the light and see what I see.
Yeah, I'll look in the one with the light.
Okay. So
And I'm not carrying the lantern up next to it. I'll like hand the lantern to someone else.
Jonita, you look in, and it's hard to make out, but there's sort of a longish hallway that looks like it leads to kind of a workspace or a very large office. Maybe it was once a library, or a reading room of some sort. But looking in there, it looks like a lot of furniture has been overturned or moved aside. And there's somebody, and again, you're kind of looking through a doorway that's not lit, down a hallway that's not lit, into a much larger room, a few dozen feet away. But kind of in around down the hallway, you can sort of see somebody moving around and working at a table on what looks like a large metal ring. And this is a large person. You're getting an impression of it being a large person. It's sort of moving like a large person. It's it's in that. Do you have any questions, or is anything to clear up for you? Or
okay, so they're like building this large metal ring, or it
looks like they're tinkering with a metal ring to actually to try to do something to it. I mean, you would have to get a little bit closer to really see it, but it doesn't look like they're building it. Like, it looks like they're trying to adjust it or change it in some way.
Okay.
So it doesn't look like they're building. They're not like forging a new one. They're working at one because they're apparently unhappy with either its size or its shape or something like that.
Okay.
They're like really lightly tapping on it. They're examining it. They look like they might cut some portion off of it or reshape it in some sort of way.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I'm gonna try to get closer.
Okay. All right. So make a dexterity check for me. You're trying to be stealthy, right?
Yeah. All right, how do I click that?
And you can just select any of those D20s And then click the reroll selected button up at the green button at the top.
It's not letting me select. On a sec. I'll open it in this.
Okay.
Weird, but
sorry about that. And you just refreshed it, right?
Huh? I actually just tried a different browser. I thought maybe it was.
Oh yeah, it's fundamentally the same thing as refreshing it, right?
Right. Yeah.
And it's not letting you click on. It's not letting you.
Clicking on these dice does nothing. I don't know.
I'm so sorry. Do you have some dice at hand that you can use?
Do I? I should. Oh wait, hold on. Can I just click on one of these things and roll one?
Yeah.
Up at the top?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just put one in. There you go. So you got a 14. And your dexterity is a 10, correct?
Yep.
All right. So you start moving down that hallway. And it's pretty dark in the hallway, though there's light back from where you came from and light in the workspace. When you see the looming figure sort of standing over the table, and it's got several of these sort of bronze rings sort of stacked up on the table, about 4 of them, and it's fiddling really heavily with one of them, and it looks like it's about to do something to try to clip it or change it or warp it in some way. That they've got some metalworking tools out, and some just basic tinkering tools, some screwdrivers, some hammers. And without even turning around, you hear this feminine voice out of what is clearly an ogre, because it has the ram's horns kind of coming swooping back over its skull. But it's moving, and it's the closer you get to it, the more it's like you're pretty sure this is 8 feet tall if it's 2 feet tall. This is at least 8 feet tall, and it's got these kind of big, kind of university robes on, and it's holding something up, looking at it with its back to you, and it just says, "Oh, you thought you could sneak up on me, didn't you?"
Okay.
And it just kind of chuckles low and goes back to kind of tinkering.
Okay.
Naughty.
Oh, sorry. Good.
That's all it says. It just goes back to tinkering.
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of heft the sledgehammer in my hand and say, "Do you need any help with that?"
I'm gonna move back to the other hallway, where we had Kula. Am I saying that correct?
Khalu.
Sorry, Khalu. This is what I get when
Kalua, but without the male version of it.
Khalu.
Version of Khalu.
You look down that hallway, and you can hear shuffling and sloshing, and you can see thick in the pool water that's kind of sitting in the hallway and kind of going through these rooms. It looks like these were either classrooms or maybe dorm rooms. You can't really quite tell without looking into it. looking in the individual doors, but it looks like these were small sort of lecturing rooms. But the water is thick with storm seal minnows. And they are swarming around. They are delicious looking, and they are heavy here. And there are a lot of them.
While I'm like studying this, can I hear across the main room, like the conversation that was happening with Blast?
You definitely hear a voice, but there's not a yell or anything. You're not.
Can I hear Blast's voice saying, like, how about I help you with that? Or can I help you with that?
I think, yeah, all three of you and Poppy can hear Blast saying, can I help you with that? So let's return over to Blast, where as soon as you say that, Blast, this very large female ogre turns around and looks at you aghast. And just says, "You, what are you doing here?" And she kind of swoops the ring, sort of. She's trying to the ring she was working on. She sort of swoops into her robe, and all three of you down the hallway can hear the "What are you doing here?" very, very loudly.
Can we see what's going on, or are we too far away?
You can see Blast back as she's got the hammer picked up.
Is there anyone else in the room, in the area?
You do not see anyone else. Blast, you definitely don't see anyone else in that room.
Okay.
There's some actual working doors that sort of lead off from where you're looking, Blast, lead off to your left.
Okay.
There's sort of a work table with lots of books and papers on it, in which she was tinkering with those rings. And there's what looks like a kind of a pathway that just leads to some collapsed area. Kind of off across opposite the room from you.
Okay. How big are these metal rings that she's been working on? What they look like? I was picturing something bigger than I think it was.
They're about big enough to kind of go around the actual, like if you were going to set them on your collarbone, not around your neck,
okay,
but kind of like on your collarbone. But it would be a weird shaped person who this would conform like this. They're actually circular, which would be weird, but they're about the size of like a collarbone. But you're thinking that even an ogre's neck would not fit. This would be too small for an ogre's neck and too large for a human's neck. But it'd be right if you were to put it on you, it would sort of sit at your collar.
Okay.
But it's perfectly round. Otherwise, and it looks like she was trying to either shrink it or sort of make it the shape of somebody's actual clavicle, like the collarbone.
Right.
But that's what you can see. Are the other three of you kind of heading into that room?
Yeah, I think just hearing what I've heard, I think it's time that Doric would definitely join Blast in the room.
Yeah, I think Yonarla is probably gonna stick to the shadows.
Okay.
So, find a good vantage point from which to throw her knives.
Gotcha. Awesome. Yonarla, what are you having Poppy do?
I think
Poppy's looking at you a little blankly.
I think, I'm just like, I have. Gosh, Poppy's like got no stats.
I mean, she has
I
stats,
guess
they're just not great ones.
right. I think I'm just going to send her with Doric.
Okay, so Poppy's going to the room. What about you, Khalu?
I'll go in, but I'm also going to kind of stay towards the back to keep an eye to see if this, if the conversation or the noise has attracted any other attention.
No, in fact, the little sort of mouse size or rat size sort of seals, they climb off the wall, they glide up, they glide down. They're floating sort of around the big room, but it's dry enough, and they don't seem interested particularly in the workshop area.
Okay.
So there's no you're not seeing any weirdness, sort of like hanging back. You're not seeing anything coming through at all. But as soon as all three of them sort of appear, and Yonarla, I'd like you to roll your dexterity. Check your dexterity. Tell me how you do.
Nope.
Oh. So, brigands and assassins coming to steal my work, eh? And she points to Yonarla in the shadows, sort of fingering your dagger, were you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Trying to take advantage of everything that Onara and I have been working on. Trying to take it all for yourselves.
Nara's here? Oh, fuck.
Yeah, so Nara's here. I wasn't going to come out here and do this work alone.
Wait, are you her new beau? I heard about you.
The title is Professor, madam. I'll ask you to kindly set down that knife.
Oh, aren't we so high and mighty with our degrees? What do you teach?
Antiquities.
Oh. Have you been to the antique store on 5th, 7th Avenue? It's so nice.
What are you here for?
And so I think what I'm doing is I'm trying to distract her so that other people can maybe, I don't know, kill her. But that's just what I'm doing right now. So I'm just trying to enrage her using my charm.
She is so you're trying to get her angry?
Well, not angry, but annoyed enough to keep chatting with me, distracting her from anything that's going on around her.
Right. Why don't you go ahead and make that charisma check?
Yeah, I got that one.
Yeah, you get a lot of charisma checks with that 18. So how'd you do on that? Just out of curiosity.
That was a 5.
Okay, yeah, you did really well on that. She turns and strolls right over to where Yonarla sort of came out of the shadows. She's ignoring the rest of you, and she's just like, you're the troublemaker Onara was telling me about.
She talks about me. Oh, what
and she points at Poppy, and she's just like, you're the one who left her. You're the girlfriend stealer.
Oh, shall I steal you next? I'm just kidding, Poppy. I would never.
What are the rest of you doing?
Yeah, I think this is a pretty obvious opening, even for Doric. So I guess as soon as this conversation starts happening,
Now that several of you are closer in, and she's moved away from the table and is not blocking things on the table, you can see there's these weird, colorful, glassy structures on the table as well. I mean, they're like stone, they're like precious stone bright, but they are not crystal. They're not carved like crystal formations. They're carved almost like a thick glass formation. And which of you thinks you're probably the best educated of the three of you who's not Yonarla?
That's a really good question. I don't think it's Doric.
It's not me.
I'm a foreigner, so is it? Does it require local knowledge?
No. I think Doric.
Doric seems
Doric
to fit the bill.
Which of you are the most likely to have had enough? Well, Doric, you've had big money at times.
I mean, if we're just talking
you've
about
eye on the hog before.
Yeah, if we're talking about recognizing something that's valuable, yes, I'm good at that.
Yeah. So it's specifically these are not in any sort of crystalline shape. They're in the shape of like a brain. And you've seen these at high-end restaurants and butcher shops, and they look oddly like a brain, or a part of a brain.
Okay.
So then they're sitting on the desk, and some of them look almost like there's like, ruby-colored glass or something almost emerald-colored, and then two of them seem to be sharp blue. And there's several just sort of lumps that are sort of topaz colored, but again, not in any sort of crystalline formation. Again, just like they were just like glass lumps that were colored like topaz. And there's several bottles. You really couldn't make these out as she was when you first got in the room, Jonita, because she was sort of standing between you and this portion. Oddly, these things that look like they are fastened and colorful are not what she's trying to hide from you. She gathered up those brass rings and she sort of tucked them into her robe. She's not pulled her hand out. So what with that kind of context, what are you all doing while Yonarla is chastising and sort of picking at her?
Am I close enough to grab one of these glass lumps?
Yeah. Is any one particular one you're going for?
One that's relatively small so that I can, grab it quickly and pick it up.
Yeah. One of them is kind of the formless yellowish topaz yellow one, and there's another one that's ruby. Which one are you going for?
Ruby.
Okay. Are you trying to do it where she can't see you, or are you just kind of grabbing at it?
I mean, if she's not looking my way, I'll try to do it without attracting her attention.
Go ahead and make that dexterity saving throw.
Sure.
Because you're trying to do it quickly and slyly.
It still won't let me select that, so.
Oh no.
Don't know what's up with it. No, I cannot do dexterity today.
Oh man. And you said you went for the red one?
Yeah.
So you pick it up and you grab what you as you reach for it, and this was kind of hard to see in sort of like firelight or lantern light. you reach for it, and then you pull away half of it. And you notice that as you pull away whatever it is that caused it to look like a brain on the outside, it is beautifully crystalline on the inside. So you pull it away. It is ruby red on both sides, and there's half of it still sitting on the table. And I think as you pull half of it away, you knock a bottle over. And the bottle you knock over sort of was a metal vial. It lands on the floor, pops open, and this sort of red fluid just sort of leaks out. This sort of like kind of thick fluid that has sort of like it's almost the same color of what you're holding in your hand. And it's a vial that's sort of wider in the middle and kind of puckered at the top. So there's only a little bit sort of dribbling out, and it's dribbling out slowly. And as soon as you do that, she let me actually do a dexterity check for her. Yeah, she kind of pulls her hands out of her robe. She's clearly under her robe, is whatever she was holding is kind of tucked under her arm. But both her hands are free, and she goes to pick up the vial, and she's like, "What are you doing? You're stealing things. You're invading our lab."
Sorry, I just wanted to see what it was. It looks fascinating.
So, sorry, I have too many windows open. I keep losing our Hangout window, and trying to navigate back to it. So I apologize, Jonita. You were saying you were. What were you saying again?
I'm sorry. I just wanted to see what it was. All this looks fascinating. It looks like you've got some major project here, and sorry, I was just curious.
She leans down kind of awkwardly, but she successfully sort of restoppers the bottle, sets it on, and just like, I need to call for Yonarla right now. You should not be here. You should not be on this island at all. And with that, you all hear sort of a loud sort of thunder crack, sort of coming from underneath the island. And then sort of this like hearing loud noises underwater, and they kind of echo and reverberate, sort of like whale song or something like that. And she doesn't seem to be fazed by it. What are the rest of you doing?
I think while this has been going on, Doric is definitely stealing.
Okay.
And not really making pretense about it. He's just grabbing so there was like a topaz colored thing.
Yeah.
For lack of a better term.
Yeah, they were just sort of like lumps. The other ones look like brains. These sort of look like glass beads or something.
Okay. Yeah, just toss it in my bag real quick.
But what are you doing? You're just and what about you, Khalu?
I'm wondering if I should shoot her.
It will be loud, but maybe less loud than her screaming.
Yeah.
If she decides to raise an alarm. You have a vibro gun, right?
Right, she'll explode if I kill her. So,
she is pretty big. You could also try to subdue her, or you can just shoot her to get her out of the way.
So if I shoot her, if I do ultimately kill her, how like big is the explosion? Like, will there be collateral damage?
That would kind of depend. How much do you know about the gun?
Um,
I mean, she is a pretty big person, so her exploding while standing next to that table could damage lots of things on the table, especially the vials.
And she's got those horns, which could be kind of dangerous shrapnel.
Right.
There could be some dry cleaning involved too.
Yeah, there could be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I cannot afford to dry clean this.
Yeah, I don't think I'll. So I won't shoot her. I will. I mean, as long as there's like chaotic looting going on, I might as well just join in, and I'll just I'll grab some of those shiny looking gemmy things.
So there were the other piece of the red piece. There's a bunch of bottles. There are the formless topaz ones, and there's sort of the green and blue pieces. Which ones were you going for?
Yeah, I'll grab some of those green and blue pieces.
Okay. So you grab those green and blue pieces, and she's like, all right. Yonarla is busy right now. Let's all just calm down. You don't even know what you're grabbing. Let's all just stay calm. All right?
Well, tell us what we're grabbing, and maybe we can talk. I'm calm. You're the one who's yelling at us all.
You're invading my workshop and taking things from off my table.
No, this isn't yours. This is public property. It's abandoned. Just because you're here doesn't mean it's yours. Gosh.
Oh.
I want to kind of start juggling the pieces that I stole to see if she has a reaction.
Do you even know what those are?
Professor.
Yes. I think Khalu, make a charisma check. See if you can sort of intimidate her into talking.
Okay. I don't have the greatest charisma, but a 6.
A 6?
That's below.
Look, you've probably even never heard of a wizard flower. You've definitely never heard of a wizard flower. And she starts trying to pull the bottles. Like she's holding something under her arm. She's got the stoppered bottle in one hand. She's trying to grab some of the other bottles off the table. If you've ever seen somebody carry too much, she's definitely in that sort of position where she's trying to hold one thing. Obviously, she's trying to hold these brass rings under her arm. She's reaching for something else.
Can I cut off her cloak?
Oh yeah, if you just want to rip away her, just use a dagger to rip away her. Let's call that that's about acting fast and sort of trying to embarrass her.
Yeah. All right, that's a 3.
The dice love you tonight. Yeah, you get the dagger out, and what are you trying to try to do?
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna I think I'm gonna kind of go up behind her and try to cut her clothes down so that they kind of fall off of her toward the front. Just so that not only is she carrying all these things, all of her clothes come tumbling down on top of whatever she's trying to carry.
Right. It's an academic robe, so it has a shape, but not one that's really kind of that's not doing much more than hang on her.
Mm-hmm.
So you just sort of start it, kind of rip it in the back.
Mm-hmm.
And then sort of sags off her shoulders and sort of onto her arms.
Yeah.
kind of exposing. Now it's sort of, now she's sort of flustered. She was leaning down, which made it easy for you to reach behind her. And she just starts screaming for Yonarla.
And I'm like, someone kick her to the ground and bash, get her skull.
Yonarla! Yonarla!
I shove a wizard flower in her mouth.
One of the big stones.
Yeah. Will it fit?
She has a fairly large mouth. Test strength, Khalu.
Okay. $11. That's a success.
All right.
The dice like me too.
Yeah, you're gonna have to hold it there because it's not something that will just automatically she'll be able to bite down on. But
Is it enough to muffle her?
But it's enough to, if you're holding it there, it's enough to muffle her. She obviously does not want to bite down on it because it's pretty friggin' hard. But it's enough to sort of muffle her. But I think she's going to she is going to try to push you off her. And she's not down on the ground yet. Just to clarify, Yonarla, you were giving that instruction to somebody to knock her down and hold and crush her skull. That was an instruction you were giving, correct?
Yeah, that's
not a thing you. Yeah, so she's not down yet, but you've sort of reached up and sort of stuffed something in her mouth that's sort of temporarily blocking her, and she is going to push back.
Her hands are full, right?
Yeah, she's going to try to chest bump you away. But I think that means that we're going to go to initiative just to find out sort of the order things go.
Okay.
For initiative, what I'd like you to do is just make a dexterity check and tell me if you succeed or not.
Nope.
Yep.
I did not succeed.
Doric, I'm sorry.
It's hardly a surprise.
And what about you, Jonita?
Sorry, I forgot it was muted. What's a tie?
Okay. It was a tie. That is a success. So
Okay.
Jonita and Yonarla have a chance to do something. Let me check Poppy real quick. Before it looks like she's about to just sort of aggressively chest bump Khalu away from her. And Poppy has the lantern in her hand, seems a little surprised. Khalu's hands are full, and Doric's kind of hands have been getting full. He's been kind of focused on the desk when he sees this all start to go down. But Yonarla, you're sort of one of the instigators, and Jonita, you've been watching the situation for a bit. You get a chance to do something before she does. What are you going to do?
This is such a weird kind of fight.
Yeah. And it's not one where you have a chance to really talk to each other about what your goals are first. You're just trying to figure out what
right,
to do.
exactly. Yeah, so I guess I'm standing near the table still, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna grab another one of those glass blobs and throw it at her.
Okay. So if you're just going to throw it at her, just roll let's call it a D6. It's a pretty heavy thing.
Okay. Five.
All right. Wow. Okay. And it sort of glances off her shoulder. and she gets visibly angry. Yonarla, what about you?
I'm gonna try and just trip her up so she falls down.
Okay.
And yeah.
Go ahead and make a strength saving throw.
3.
So describe this action to you. Like she's just sort of like, she looks like she's about to just chest bump Khalu, which could send him, if she gets a square one in, it could send him flying backwards. But what do you do to sort of trip her up and knock her down?
Like being an expert performer, knife thrower, I'm also a really good dancer. So I do this nice like dance sweep move and like a sweeping kick, and it just like, and I get her square on the inside of her knees, and
Okay.
she kind of buckles and falls onto her face.
Sweep the knee, Johnny.
She buckles, she falls onto her face. She's gonna try to grab your foot, Khalu, and sort of knock you down since you were right in front of her.
Okay.
And these metal vials kind of go falling as she falls. And you see sort of these brightly colored liquids come leaking out of them. Again, they're made of metal. They're not breaking, but they're dented, and they're stoppers. As soon as they fall, 4 feet to the floor, their stoppers pop off, and you see like brightly colored liquids, much like the color of the stones you're holding, come leaking out of them. And Khalu, I'd like you to make a dexterity saving throw as she sort of reaches for your feet and tries to topple you over.
3.
You're in good shape. Yeah, she cannot get sort of her hand on you to sort of knock you down. So what are you and Doric gonna do?
So she's now on the ground.
Yep.
Can we tie her up and keep her gagged with the stone? With the
so you've got some. Do you have some rope?
I do. I have steel rope, actually.
Nice. Okay. So you've got the steel rope. Back there, you're going to try to let's call that dexterity. Okay. She's not cooperating, so you're going to have to let's call it strength, because it's really about pulling her hands back and keeping them in place.
I rolled a 1, a crit.
She had no hope. Doric, what are you up to?
I hog tie her.
Well, yeah, so it looks like she's kind of been taken out of action. I think what I'm going to do is grab one more thing that looks valuable from the table and toss it in my bag, and go back towards the door and just kind of stand to the side of the door with my hammer in one hand, and I'm just going to, whoever walks in that door next, I'm just going to try and crack him over the head.
Now, are you talking about that inside door that was to the right as you walked in, or the hallway that you came from?
No, the door that we entered to get into this room.
Gotcha,
I'm standing off to the side of the doorway, assuming that someone, Onara perhaps, is going to come in.
Okay. Give me 1 sec to check on random encounters real quick, since it's been kind of noisy. And let's try that one more time. Ooh. So with the light from you sort of shining out that door, you see what must be the creatures that And she's now sort of making a whistling noise, trying to keep you from muffling her while you're hog tying her, Khalu. And you see the tall things that were sort of like moving around, hauling tools. Just when you that you saw walk in, Doric, and they are moving down that hallway. It looks like three of them, kind of in a kind of a lumbering sort of automatonish, gait. And they're moving towards you, and now you've got light shining directly on them. You can make them out better. It looks like they're wearing some sort of like wood and bronze armor. But their heads are not sticking out of that wooden bronze armor. Instead, you just see three skulls with what looks like some sort of yellowish, glassy substance kind of somewhere on the inside, glinting at you. And they're moving slowly towards you in the room. And let's take a break there and come back in, I guess, like 5-10 minutes.
All right. Sounds good.
So right about 10:30, and we'll pick up from there. Hey guys, sorry, it was back a little bit late, but welcome back. And Doric, you see 3 of these things moving towards you. Again, looking like they've got some sort of weird armor made of brass and wood, and out front from out of their where their helmet should be is just a skull.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they don't look friendly. And
It is hard to
they're
have facial expressions when you just have a skull. They are not
Right,
moving in a
right.
hostile sort of way.
Okay.
They're not like rushing in, but they are moving. They're almost hunched over, like they're leaning into wherever they're going.
Okay. Well, I guess I'm going to pull out my scattergun and just kind of step out of the way and see what happens.
And you just pointed at them?
No, I'm not pointing it at them, but I mean, I have it up and at the ready. But I'm kind of curious. Like, I'm not sure I want to tangle with these things, so I'm not going to engage them until I have to.
As soon as they could have come around the corner, I'd like Khalu to make a strength saving throw.
I rolled a 2.
2, yeah. She tries to buck you off, but you even though she's a lot bigger than you are, you've got her pinned down. She's not as strong as she might look just based on her size. And you've got her you've got her hands sort of tied up in the steel rope. It's sort of like you came from behind her and sort of pulled her hands back and tied her up. Is that correct?
Yeah, like I think and bent her knees back. She's like hogtied.
Okay. Yeah, you're kind of getting her there. What are you doing to prevent her from talking or calling out? Again, you can't really bite. You can't really force you can, if you're holding it in her face, it'll stay there, but you can't really force her to bite down on that stone. It's too hard and too kind of clunky and big.
Too big to fit in her mouth.
Yeah.
Was there a smaller one handy that I could swap it out for?
Yeah, it's more that just stones, since they don't, you don't sink your teeth into them. They're really easy to force back out of your mouth.
Okay.
They're not really. It's not really filling her mouth in a way. It's not the size. It's the shape. It doesn't really fill her mouth in a way that she would.
I take some of the robes that Yonarla had cut, like when Yonarla had cut it away, and I was there's a section of it that I was able to grab and crinkle up into a ball and shove it into her mouth.
Yeah, I think as you're trying to do that, she's telling whatever it is came in to kill you. Just as you're sort of like, you've got her sort of taut. You're not really fully knotted up. You've got the rope, so at least you can hold it taut around her limbs. And you're trying to force that in her thing, and she's like, "Kill them! Kill them!" Jonita and Yonarla, what are you up to?
Can I see these skull-headed?
Yeah.
critters?
I think Doric pulled back to sort of watch what they did, and they're sort of like they're still sort of leaning into them. And as soon as she starts yelling at them, they start looking around at all of you as if they've just noticed you.
All right, great. How close are they?
You can get to them in a couple of steps. It's one room. You can stride over to them.
Okay, and now that they've noticed us, do they seem to be about to attack us, or
they're certainly, their arms are up, and it's hard to read intentions in the face of a skull.
right?
But their certainly arms are up, and they moving as if indecisive, but their arms are up and they're sort of reaching out. And I think I'll just go with the same thing. I'm going to ask you and Yonarla what you're going to do next.
It worked well last time. I'm going to throw another of those glass chunks at them.
Okay.
First one, closest one.
All right. Roll your dice.
Five.
5. Okay, let me go back to my dice roller. You hit one square in the face, and it doesn't reel back. But you hit it sort of square in the jaw, for lack of a better way to say it. And instead of like bouncing off the skull, it sort of carries through with the skull. You knock the jawbone off of it, and its head kind of turns to the side. It doesn't pop off, but it loses its balance and sort of falls over backwards. And it's just sort of on the ground, trying to rolling back and forth as if it's trying to right itself. Yonarla, what are you up to there?
How's the professor looking?
She's looking tied up, and now she's getting something shoved in her mouth.
Okay.
An interesting thing, both you and Jonita can see this. As soon as the thing fell over and you broke off its whatever these sort of topaz colored glass surfacey things are that look like a topaz colored glass bead, there's one of them inside its skull.
Right.
On whatever is keeping that skull sort of suspended in place over the armor, there's one of them on top of that.
So are there skeletons inside the armor?
It fell over backwards, so it's hard to sort of look down, but there's something that seems to be holding up the skull that's does not look organic or natural.
Okay, I'm gonna get out my bone magnet.
Yeah.
And get them skulls over here.
You're gonna have to scramble a little closer forward, I think, to get in range for the bone magnet. But yeah, you can pull at least the jawbone. The jawbone is loose, but maybe if you get the bone magnet onto them, you'd be able to pull it over whatever is suspending it there.
Okay, I'm gonna try that.
Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you going to try one of the ones that's still kind of up, or are you going to try to lurch for the one that's fallen?
The one that's on the ground's on the ground. I'm going to work on the ones that are up.
All right. Left or right? Since there's two of them, one will be more to your left and one will be more to your right.
Whichever one's further away from the other people.
Okay, let's go for the one on your right then. And just make a strength check to see if you can kind of get the bone magnet just right close enough to the skull in the right position and yank it back.
I feel like my luck's going to run out. My luck did not run out. I got a 6.
Awesome. Yonarla, your bone magnet kind of lands smack dab in the middle of the forehead of the skull on the one on the right, as it sort of tries to flounder to try to get you. And it connects with the skull. You pull it back and you've got the whole skull off, and it's definitely not a skeleton inside it. It's some sort of bronze post that's holding up one of those kind of yellowish topaz colored beads that the skull is just sitting on top of.
Okay.
And yeah, you've got a skull now on your, and as soon as you pull the skull off, the entire thing just stops moving.
But like the bead comes out of the
No,
skull?
the bead is still there.
Okay. The bead is still in the armor or in the skull?
So the bead is still sort of attached to that kind of bronze post coming out of the armor.
I see. Okay.
And as you look down, it's covered on bronze a lot on the outside, but that bronze post is coming out of just kind of like a wood block is what you see when you sort of look down into what looks like the armor. Like it's wood all the way through.
Okay.
Doric, you were ready to do something, so I won't make you go in your normal initiative position. What are you doing? Now your gun will be loud.
Yeah. I'm not super worried about that at this point. I guess Doric's gonna walk right over to the one that's on the ground and just kind of point blank, just blast it in the skull.
Okay. Now you can probably get both. You've got a blast gun. You've got a scatter gun. So with the scatter gun, you can probably get. The other one is sort of in front of the one on the ground, but you can probably get both it and the one on the ground.
Okay. Well, even better. Yeah.
Yeah. So roll that d6.
Got it.
If you do really poorly or really well, I may make you roll it separately for each of them, but we'll find out.
I did not do that. I rolled a 4.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah, the one on the ground, whatever, what is it that comes out of your scatter gun? Is it pellets? Is it nails? Is it?
It's a lot of
packed in there.
Yeah, both of those and some other metal bits and
okay,
bobs. Just a lot of bric and brac, whatever I can get in there. Yeah,
nuts and bolts.
Yeah,
you
maybe some jacks.
out.
Who knows?
It knocks a hole in the skull of the one on the ground.
Nice.
And you can see the yellow thing sort of kind of glowing through as the one on the ground still tries kind of feebly to try to like right itself since it's on its back. The one on the left took a huge chunk out of the wood and bronze, and he peeled a lot of the kind of the bronze plating back off the wood, and you took several chunks out of the wood. There's some huge scrapes across the jawbone, especially, and there's some powder burns pretty much everywhere on that one. But it's still coming towards you, and I think it's going to let me roll a d4 and find out what it's going to do. Doric, it's moving in next to you since you were pretty close to it. So it's going to just head straight next to you, and Khalu, you'll go right after this. You're going to take 3 points of damage as it just sort of swings loosely at you. It's
Ouch.
sort of like just swings at you. It finishes kind of closing the distance between you and just smacks you. But it's not a heavy blow. And it's not doing anything substantial to you yet. Khalu, what are you up to? Khalu?
I was on mute. Sorry.
That's all right.
Is there just one or two functioning?
There's just one.
One functioning thing.
Yeah.
And is Professor Ogre pretty well secured at this point?
You think so? You could definitely get a gun free.
Okay. Yeah, I'll vibrowave the skull of this other thing.
Just roll your damage die.
Okay. Oops. That's D8. 4.
4. It turns to look at you. Though you you get a sense that whatever you did has shaken it up. Like it's like one of its arms is now loose from the vibro waves. The jawbone has sort of come unhinged and has just sort of fallen down, so it's resting on that sort of bronze sort of stem. The plates inside the skull have started to the plates that make up the skull have started to sort of like show space between them with those vibro waves. I think it's back up to Jonita and Yonarla. What are the two of you doing? Oh, and Poppy hasn't. Poppy has not done something.
Okay.
She's sorry. She leads. She sort of jumps forward with her saber and takes a swing at this thing that's attacking. That might just be ready to attack Yonarla, which would be terrible. And she does a pretty substantial blow on it, but it's still moving. Yonarla, what are you doing? Jonita, you as well.
I'm gonna hit it with my sledgehammer.
Oh, nice. Roll that sledgehammer. Just roll that d6.
Six.
You catch it, I think, kind of right in the middle of what would be its chest, cracking sort of the wood block open. And its arms are not knocked off, but you're sort of exposing whatever mechanisms are sort of inside this thing, which are not terribly complex. There's a couple of gears that allow its arms to move, but there's not like the complex set of mechanisms you'd expect inside a mockery or something like that. But you can sort of see where the block splits, and it just sort of tumbles over on its side, and it's pinned its own arm that it would normally use to get itself unpinned beneath it, and it is really, really limply trying to push off with the other arm and unpin its arm. But it's not able to stand back up anytime in the near future. It's sort of on its side, sort of rocking back and forth, trying to find a way to unpin its own arm and right itself. And the exasperated cries that the professor is making would suggest to you that she is quite peeved that these things were so utterly inefficient at getting rid of Yonarla and her friends.
Right.
Who she's not a fan of Yonarla or Doric or Jonita, who've just been grabbing things.
Yeah.
And then Khalu, who tried to get her to explain, like, you broke into her house and then tried to get her to explain what you were stealing from her. Though she seemed to like you best. You were at least asking questions.
Wow. Yeah. Well, professors, they like.
They're kind of softies for questions.
Which is good because she's gagged and I don't want her to scream again, so I'm not gonna ask her questions.
Okay.
I would, but that would undo all the hard work that Doric put in. So I'm going to. Can I get to the like topaz lump in one of these skeletons or skull head things, brains?
Yeah,
Or like heads.
all three of them. Yeah, as soon as if you just want to pull those skulls.
Yeah, I'm just gonna pull one out and see what happens.
Yeah, as soon as you pull the skull off, it stops moving. But it does not necessarily kind of like just go limp. But as soon as you start to move at or investigate that kind of topazy glass structure inside, it becomes detached pretty easily. And if it becomes detached, the entire thing just sort of slumps.
Okay.
You pull the skull off and it freezes. You pull the topaz thing out and it just kind of slumps and goes completely as if nothing's working in the mechanisms anymore. But yeah, you have three of them, not counting the four that were on the desk.
Yeah, you said there were like papers and things on the desk.
Yep.
I'm gonna look at them and see.
Now, you notice too that the bronze rings she was holding are the same as the bronze rings that fit around sort of what would be the clavicle in this suit of armor, as if that's what is attaching sort of the neck piece. So that has kind of an attaching thing. The wood that the stem attaches to, all of that is attached with this sort of embraced into the armor with this bronze ring.
Okay.
Is there anything else in the room worth investigating?
There were some old papers, old books, but the ones that seemed to be most important were on her desk.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the door. Sort of as you're coming in, you saw the door to your left, and there's sort of a collapsed hallway leading off to the far side of the room, which seems to be sort of tilted down.
I think I want to interrogate the professor with help, if any is given. That's going to be my next move.
Can we waterboard her with the colorful liquid in the vials?
You can.
I was thinking of just holding a knife to her throat and waiting until she screamed, but I mean,
I was more or less curious just what the liquid was and what it would do to her, but
oh, we can find out. Surely. If she doesn't tell us first.
So, all right, we'll save the enhanced interrogation stuff.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I think probably Doric at this point, maybe just gathering up anything that looks valuable. I guess gathering those brass rings, and then I'd be free to help with the interrogation.
Yeah, I'm gonna grab some of those vials. Definitely.
Yeah, we should take. I was gonna say take the vials too.
I might look for some guidance on interrogating from Yonarla.
Okay.
But I'm at the ready to help.
Right. So you have, I believe now you have 7 of those sort of like large glass beads that are about this big, and then the brain-shaped things that are a little bit smaller. Definitely not the size of an actual animal brain there, Doric. And then you've got, I'm going to say you have 4 vials of liquid. Most of the 3 of them are blue, but one of them is bright red. And you sort of just by like seeing what they look like in the spilled out in the lantern light, all of them are not full. All of them have had some spillage. All but
Okay.
one.
Sorry, we had. So how many of those topaz things do we had? Those are
You have a total of 7. If you
7.
pull, yeah,
Okay.
you had 4 on the desk and 3 that kind of came in with those.
Okay. And then the beads, we have more of those, right?
Mhm.
And
Oh,
are there
one odd thing. There is a jackal skull sitting on the desk. She seemed to be using it as a paperweight.
any more of those wizard flowers?
Not that you can see. I mean, there was the ruby one that was kind of set in 2. There is a mortar and pestle of. It looks like a mortar and pestle, except it's very dense. It's a very dense kind of pure black metallic to the touch thing, and there's some sort of what looked like powdered ruby or maybe powdered red, what she was calling wizard flower in it.
Same color as the liquid.
Yeah, same color as the liquid.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm all for interrogating her to find out what the stuff is.
So who's going to be involved in that, and what's your approach going to be?
Well, I have knives, and I can be persuasive.
Yes, yeah.
So
All right.
that's
Anybody else
my
gonna help?
approach.
I'm not good at persuasion. I am looking through those papers though, because that seems like an easier way to get like an honest, if confusing, answer.
Okay. You're looking through those papers. Doric?
Yeah, I'll be helping Yonarla. Just kind of
glaring over
following.
her shoulder. You did a good. Like, what's your approach between the two of you?
Yeah, I mean, I mostly just just dirty looks, pacing around, looking menacing as best I can, and ready to jump in if Yonarla has anything specific she wants me to do to help out.
Menacing and sweaty.
And I'm like
Yeah.
the hot bad cop, and you're the quiet angry cop.
Yep. Sure. The quiet, angry, sweaty cop.
There's no good cop in this scenario.
Khalu, where are
Yeah.
you in this process?
Who? Oh, Khalu?
Yeah.
Okay,
Fred had mispronounced it again.
that's okay. So I don't actually need to be holding on to the to the steel rope, right? It's tied
Right.
off pretty well.
Mhm.
Okay. I'll help go through the papers and stuff.
Okay. So let's do the interrogation first. Since that'll be fastest,
Yeah.
theoretically. Let's start by let's start with checking Doric's charisma.
Yeah, got a 5, so that would be a success.
Nice. Yonarla, Doric's kind of pacing around backwards, back behind you, looking menacing, and you're pulling the gag out of her mouth.
And she's like hogtied on the ground.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a big woman.
Mm-hmm.
She's 8 feet tall.
course.
She's pretty broad shouldered. She's not good at like manifesting strength, but she's pretty sturdy. And you're remembering, that from what you know of ogres, it's probably a good thing that you tied her down. You knocked her down and tied her up, because if you just sort of slugged at her, she was gonna take a lot of that damage and then regenerate it. It's pretty hard to kill an ogre. So it's probably good that she's tied up. Yonarla, what's the first question you want to ask?
Now, what's her name?
Her name is Morgulin.
Oh, Morgie. I know. This isn't a great position for you to be in. But let's be honest. I'm pretty good at what I do. So I need to know what all this garbage is and where can I sell it.
Well, I suppose you would need somebody to explain what a wizard flower is to you.
Yeah, you're really on about that, aren't you?
Well, as someone who's never tried to master a complex philosophical construct, I suppose you would never have needed anything to help you crystallize your thoughts.
No, but that's not important.
The greatest of the alchemical scholars, what the peasants call wizards.
Yeah, wizards. Okay, we get it. Yeah, fairy tales. Okay. What the fuck does it cost, and who do I sell it to?
How much would it take for me to pay you to just leave and go away?
You wouldn't happen to have 100 pounds laying around, would you?
No, I don't. Right now,
Okay.
I could probably acquire 100 pounds when I get the grant that we're working on worked out.
Oh, sure. Yeah, because, there's a lot of money in education these days. Anyway, where's Yonarla?
She's with the stone.
The stone? Are you being played second fiddle, Morgie?
She's with the stone.
Is he hot?
What are you talking about?
Is the stone hot?
It's the typical temperature of a standard stone.
What?
It's actually slightly cooler than the environment, which is very surreal, but it's the least surreal thing about this stone.
Okay, fine. She's a little nutty, huh, Doric? Where is that? I don't know where the stone is. I guess is it a bar? Is it a bar?
Yes, it's a bar. It's a bar. It's a bar on the mainland.
Yeah, no, don't fuck with me. I know what you're talking about. I know you're fucking with me right now, and I don't like it. And I don't like it. And I don't think you'd like a lot of scars up your neck, would you?
Scars on my neck are the least of my concerns.
Oh, they're so unattractive.
Just not on the face.
Oh, okay.
Make a charisma check.
Me?
Mm-hmm.
All right. 18 on the nose. What's that? Is that... Yeah, how does that work?
18 on the nose is a success.
Okay, all right. Cool.
I mean, it's not quite as exciting as a 1. But yeah, she's
right.
like, all right, I won't mess with you any further. Don't hurt me. What else do you want to know?
I just want to know where Yonarla is. You say she's with the stone, and yeah, whatever that fucking means. I don't know where the stone is. Now tell me where the stone...
It's further inside the compound.
In the compound? Fucking
Did you think the island sank because they dug a few tunnels from the mainland? No, they brought a serious piece of technology here.
Ooh, I bet that costs money, eh, Doric? No, it costs not, Doric.
I bet you're right.
All right.
The pressure was causing it to sink. We had a very short time period in which to come out and acquire access to the compound.
Yeah. Okay. Who else is with her? How many
Um,
others are there of you?
just two.
And Anara.
And Onara, yes.
Okay. All right.
There's that mock snake woman, and then Clovis, the useless.
Clovis the useless, huh? And a mock snake woman. Uh-oh. I know Anara has a thing for mock folk. You better watch out.
It is a purely professional relationship.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Morgie. Oh, sweet, sweet Morgie. So
Go ahead. I'm
what?
sorry.
So she regenerates, but like, what does cutting her throat do and leaving the knife in?
That would be unpleasant for her, but it might ultimately be unpleasant for you.
Mm.
Um,
Huh. Well, I guess okay. So never mind. I want to know about these vials of liquids and what they do.
so you're asking her?
Yeah.
Okay. And she's just like, it's experimental. You wouldn't understand. It's very complicated. Khalu and Jonita, you're looking at the notes as you're sort of hearing things. And these are written in a deliberately, it looks like a deliberately antiquated version of just basic Bastion common. It's from 100 something years ago, but it looks like even that then they're being sort of deliberately antiquated, Jonita. That sounds very haughty. But you're getting a basic sense that they're making a potion by grinding up gemstones.
What does a potion do? Is there any indication of that?
It talks about crystallizing thoughts.
Okay.
It helps to crystallize the thoughts, to open yourself to new philosophies, to understand metaphysical truths, understand and apply metaphysical truths. And then there's something about applied metaphysics. I don't know if these are words that Jonita cares about.
Probably not, but like, crystallized thoughts is a term that,
Right.
I get that. And yeah, immediately I'm jumping to the conclusion that like she was crystallizing thoughts and putting them in these skulls. And so
This is an old manuscript, and it keeps talking about needing like untainted or freshly carved gemstones.
okay.
And that you see where it warns never to use something that sounds like wizard flowers, or never to use gemstones that are not freshly carved, that have been through the process before. What you're seeing as you look through the notes, Khalu, are notes on the harvesting of wizard flowers. And it seems to suggest that when somebody who's a metaphysician dies, you slice open their brain and you get this sort of like glassy gem structure. From outside their brain. And it contains it is the crystallization of their thoughts. And that's what you're seeing there, Khalu. And there's several suggestions on things you can do with them, but it does say do not start the, it's don't start the Vitrum Aquae process again. Is a specific thing it mentions, not to do twice with the wizard flowers. Just always start the Vitrum Aquae process with freshly carved gemstones. However, you can see where off the back of the red, sort of the ruby, the half of the brain that looked ruby red, she had already sort of like knocked off a few chunks from the lower portion. And you would suspect that's what's ground up inside that super heavy sort of mortar and pestle.
And from that, so that is wizard flower also.
That is wizard flower.
Okay.
So you're suspecting whatever's inside that mortar and pestle is from a wizard flower,
Okay.
not from a ruby.
So she was it looks like from the notes and what she was doing that she was making it the way you're not supposed to make it.
It looks like she was making it the way you were not supposed to make it.
Is there anything in the notes that indicate what happens if you do make it that way?
There's not much. Doric, what are you up to?
I guess I'm ready to move on. Yeah, so I'm thinking maybe so there's another door in this room, correct?
Right.
Does that look like it's been disturbed lately, or?
Yeah, that does look like people have used it. It is a functional working door.
Okay.
It looks like maybe it was actually put in fairly late. It does
Okay.
not seem to match the architecture perfectly. But it seems like it's not dusty the way you would expect it to be.
I'm gonna just saunter over there and take a listen.
Okay. And about the time you do, you start to hearing that sort of low from the earth sort of thunderclap, like the ground is settling in some sort of major or profound way.
Hmm.
And then you sort of hear some voices from the far side of that door, but they are very distant.
All right. Yeah, I'm just gonna wave at the rest of the group and just kind of hold a hand up to my ear and make a few gestures, trying to communicate that I hear voices.
Now, Jonita, you also noticed that, or Blast, sorry. Which one do you prefer, Jonita, Blast or Jonita?
I think all my old friends called me Blast, but maybe I'm trying to get away from that a little bit and put that particular bit of my life behind me.
Okay. So Jonita, you noticed that she was slowly sort of warping and tinkering at, I told you that 4 sort of like brass rings. She was slowly sort of warping or tinkering, so it seemed like it would fit just sort of like over someone's head and onto their collarbone in sort of a slightly more fitted way.
That seems like a bad sign. Did Doric take those brass rings already? If not, I will.
I just wrote them down, but I mean anybody can have
Okay.
them. Yeah.
So you're just sort of doing party treasure, Doric.
Yeah, but
you have
feel
no
free
intention of splitting as soon as the next sign of trouble.
I mean, we'll see who's left at the end.
Right.
Yeah.
Uh,
But yeah, if you want to have one of those things now, yeah, I'm fine with that.
I was mostly thinking about just whatever's going on here. It seems like a bad thing to have those shaped in such a way to fit onto a human. But as long as they're not here, or we don't leave them with the professor or whoever else is in our group. Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna go to that door too.
So again, through that door, you hear a, and those of you who got wounded, you're taking a kind of a short rest right now, and you can heal your hit points back up. So Doric, I know you took some wounds.
And I'm
And
assuming
hit points are always just an indication that you've taken a few dings, but everything's generally okay.
I'm assuming my rope is left behind with.
Yeah. That unless you're untying her, that steel rope is left behind.
I think we'll leave her tied up.
Okay. Are you opening that main door?
Yeah. I'll try to do it quietly, since we do hear distant voices.
So yeah, opening that door pretty quietly. Actually, make a dexterity check there, Jonita.
I have yet to succeed on one, so we'll see. Yep, failed that one too.
So you start to open it, it starts to make noise. And I think this is the period where that's the moment where you're like, oh, I should slow it down. And it's your grip on the handle slips in your attempt to slow it down, and you actually nudge it so it makes a loud creak. There's not any immediate effect, but you hear sort of a rustling on the far side of the door. And about 20 feet beyond the door, you see what you first think is just like a blackness. Even in your lantern light does not seem to sort of penetrate it. And you realize it is a giant piece of slate black stone. And it seems to go on flat, in a few dozen feet in each direction. And where it bends, almost kind of at a perfect right angle, you see lantern light coming from around that direction, that way, fairly faint. Okay. And are you holding one of the, do you still have sort of that half of the wizard flower, the red brain-shaped thing?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. The rustling is actually a bunch of flapping. They're super small. They're about the size of a mouse, somewhere between a mouse and a rat. But they're the storm seals, and they're sort of floating around, and they were kind of focused on the stone. Maybe when you made the noise, they peeled off the stone. Maybe they've just been flying around kind of loosely. You're hearing kind of human voices off to your left. They don't seem to be responding much at all to you right away. But these sort of kind of storm seal pups are sort of flying, and they're now sort of very interested. They're sort of circling you. And they're very interested in that wizard flower that you have.
Huh.
Now the floor here is, at first you think it's packed earth, but it seems to instead be some sort of really large piece of rock that's been swept clean.
Okay.
And the rest of you are following?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm gonna walk in, kind of sweeping the storm steels away as I go.
Now they're very intent. Like as you start to like try to gently brush them away, they sort of circling your arm, and they're trying to like land near on your arm or like. So if you've ever been with a playful cat and you try to like use your arm to like move it away or shoo it away,
And it latches on your arm.
yeah, it latches onto your arm. So they're sort of like half latching onto your arm, landing on your arm. They're trying to get kind of close to that thing. What do you do to sort of like, are you trying to keep them off of you, or are you trying to
I was going to, but now I'm curious, so I'm gonna like let a few land on it.
okay. Are you holding it? Is it like in your pack or
That's actually, yeah, that's a good question. I would have put it in my pack.
okay. Yeah, so they're like on your pack. They're trying to like nose into the pouch that the piece of stone is in. The wizard flower stone.
Mm-hmm.
And they're making little squeaking sort of yip sounds, like low barks. And Yonarla and Doric, you hear a familiar voice kind of call distantly from around the corner. Say like, Morgulin, stop toying with those things. And you know Onara is not far away. Did you get the collar? And you hear other people kind of talking in the background. Jonita, you recognize one of the voices as Clovis.
Okay, yeah.
What are the rest of you doing?
I guess I'm gonna I'm not gonna do anything, but I'm gonna try and encourage. Maybe I think it might even make sense to try and get Yonarla to maybe imitate Morgullin's voice. Maybe some of her professional training would be good in this venue.
Oh, that's right. You're a traveling show person, Yonarla.
It might buy us a minute or two.
Sort of like sorry, let me switch back to, I was looking at character sheets. Let me switch back to camera, because if you're going to sign this to Yonarla, I want to see how you're signing it to her.
Oh.
Or are you just whispering?
Yeah, you know what? It's going to be a little bit of gesturing. So I'm just kind of make contact with eye contact with Yonarla, and I'll just kind of tilt my head to the side and just be like, just do some of this.
Yonarla, what are you doing in response?
So yeah, what exactly are you asking me to do? Distract them while you?
Just respond to Onara, because she's calling out for Morglin, and I'm wondering if maybe you can pretend
Put on a gruff voice.
Try to sound
exactly.
like an ogre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're a show person. I think you might be able to pull it off, but she could know Morgulin pretty well, and she is a fairly different person structurally from you. So I'm gonna tell you to check charisma at disadvantages if this is what you want to do.
Ooh, this is what I want to do.
You're still likely to succeed, but
just because it's Doric's idea certainly doesn't mean it's a good idea.
Fuck it.
What was the worst roll you got?
That'd been 9.
Okay, and what are you saying in response? You sound uncannily like Morgulin. It's your ability to imitate her voice after just a few interactions is.
So-
But what are you saying? She's like, "Come on, stop playing with those things. Hurry up. Do you have the collar?"
Not yet. It's taking longer than I thought. I'm sorry, my dear. I am useless.
Oh, pumpkin sweetie. Someone needs to be cheered up, don't they?
Well, yes, maybe later. I'm really busy right now. I'll get this to you as soon as I can. I promise, Pumpkin.
The convergence is in an hour, according to your calculations.
I know, and it'll be finished by then, I promise.
All right, my love. This clearly bought you guys a little bit of time. What are you going to do? What are you going to do with that time? Doric, this was your idea.
Yeah, I'm not sure what to do. I'm not sure if we should leave. I have no idea if what we have is worth anything, or if we should kind of press our luck and see if we can once again kind of best Yonarla.
Bethany,
Yeah,
did we lose you the minute there? You're on mute too. Sorry.
Yeah, it froze for a couple seconds and then kicked me out.
Okay. Sorry about that. What was the last thing you saw?
Yonarla was had just rolled to imitate.
That was an uncanny
Morgan's voice.
imitation. It was an uncanny imitation. So you guys have time. You can certainly just sort of back out and slip away, or you can try to press your luck and see what Yonarla is up to. You certainly have things that look pretty friggin' valuable, and you have the documentation.
If we do leave, we should take the rowboat with us.
absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
So what is the plan?
I vote take what we got and skedaddle.
I'm inclined to go try to get closer and see, but I have had zero luck with that approach so far, so I'll defer to the others.
Yeah, let's just take what we got, and then take their boat and get some storm seal pelts while we're at it.
And some
Good
storm seal minnows.
opportunity.
And some storm seal minnows.
Yeah.
You saw a lot of those. If you want to scoop up I'll say you've got an empty jar. You can scoop some up into there.
Oh,
That's
great.
A bunch in my pack.
Yeah.
I won't make you spend money on empty jars, Dylan.
Okay.
I'm not that old school. Let's see. I'm just going to re-roll this 1d6. Re-roll that again. So you guys start moving back out to the position. You guys start moving back out. You get ready to scoop up like a jar full of minnows there. Khalu, And make a dexterity check. This is not absolute success or failure. I just want to get a sense of how good you are at like heading off the minnows as they try to dodge away from the jar.
Ooh, they're tough little fuckers.
Well, you lose a lot of them, but you're having trouble getting the density of them, and I think that's when Poppy lets out a low scream from somewhere behind you, Yonarla. Is she? I go to the dice. As Poppy suddenly gets clobbered from behind, as you're kind of standing in that entryway while Khalu tries to like pull up some of these minnows by a adolescent size, like a almost greyhound size, or not greyhound,
Great Dane.
Great Dane. Thank you. That was the dog I was looking for. Great Dane sized storm seal that lets out a very loud bark. And Poppy's been pretty badly hurt. She's bleeding from where it sort of half clobbered her, half bit her on the head. So she's got a bleeding head wound.
How's her face look?
Well, when you knocked her forward, she had her hand like with the lantern in it, which she was able to roll to prevent catching the lantern, and then she had her saber in its sheath in the other hand, sort of ready to. And so she fell over, and she's got a little like stone floor burn on her left cheek because she couldn't quite catch herself with her hands full when it knocked her over.
But no lasting damage to her face. Nothing.
Not that you're seeing right now.
Okay. Crash, could you just bash that creature's head in? We'll have dinner.
Sure thing.
All right.
Yeah, I'm gonna whack it with my hammer.
Roll that hammer damage.
I somehow rolled both a 1 and a 6 on that. I don't.
The one was already there.
Oh, the one was.
Oh, okay. There. Okay, cool.
Thanks for noticing that, Matt. All right, so.
I'm gonna throw a knife.
Roll the knife.
2.
2. All right. You knock it to the ground with the knife. Jonita, you're having a rough time sort of like landing a blow, but you're definitely like, getting up in its face. It's sort of dodging around you. You catch a few sides on it. And that's when the knife just sort of goes into part of it and it lets out a loud bark. And then let's go to but it's still sort of like it hits the ground, but it bounces back up from its own blubber and is kind of flying around, flapping its sort of like leathery sort of arm wings, letting out sort of a repeated yippy bark. Doric, what about you? What are you doing? Now this thing is pretty close to Poppy. So you may not want to use your scatter gun.
Right. And this is the only one we
This is
see
the only one
around.
you see, yeah.
Yeah. So I think I'll take a swing with my less impressive hammer.
Right.
Um,
You're more of a jeweler's hammer sort of thing,
right. Well, I rolled a 6 with it.
Oh, nice. Let's see. And with that one, you open up a pretty substantial like gash along the side, and you hear some ribs crack. And it's clearly lost its breath. And it sort of flops onto the ground. You guys are just knocking out all the monsters. Khalu, it is not getting back up again, but it's still alive. What are you gonna just pull it out, take it out? What are you doing?
I think I just
You're under strict instructions not to blow this up.
right. So I think I'll whack it with. Is the jar like a metal jar that I have with the?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'll whack it with the jar.
Just do a D4 there.
Okay. A 4.
Nice. It's barely breathing. What are you gonna do about this, Yonarla? This is the one thing you really wanted. I think you may be on mute.
Yeah, I go up to where it's on the ground, yeah.
Yeah.
And I take the knife, the throwing knife that is still stuck in it, and then I take it to its throat and I just slit its throat.
I'm not even going to make you roll that because it had 1 point of strength left. You guys, it did 1 attack and wow, you guys are tough.
Don't mess with my Poppy.
Fortunately for you, they're a good bit away, so barking storm seals are not exactly going to draw them in. They hear them all the time. They fight with each other, being adolescents. Yeah, Poppy's got a little bit of a gash on one of her cheeks, and
one of her cheeks.
Yeah, and some asphalt burn. On the cheek. But are you guys making for the where you've got the boats tied up?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, with haste.
All
we
right.
take both of them. We take Anara's boat too.
Yeah, definitely.
And you did not stop to retreat to try to like gently reclaim your steel rope from the ogre, correct?
No, I left it behind.
All right. So just as you sort of clear you've left some of the doors open. So just as you're going to get cleared into the area where you've got the boats, you hear what sounds like Onara screaming angrily off in the distance. And just to do one last interesting piece, I'd like Jonita and Doric, I think, were our rowers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like each of you to make a strength saving throw, just to try to quickly get the boats out of there.
Ooh, I failed 9.
5. Hey,
All right.
finally I could roll.
Nice, Jonita. And I should have asked this first, but I'm just gonna randomly just put Yonarla and Poppy into Doric's boat.
Seems reasonable.
And let's see. I'm just gonna roll a d6 here. And just as you kind of get clear of that house that you'd pulled, the collapsing house that you'd pulled up into to sort of hide your boat, you're able, Jonita, to kind of pull the boat you're rowing pretty far ahead with some good propulsion.
Okay.
But we've got a seal in ours.
Yeah, you've got both a seal and yeah, you've got the seal and you've got an extra person. And Jonita kind of went through the little passageway before you, Doric, and you were just having trouble. It's not that you are not decent at rowing or that you're not strong. It's just that you were having trouble sort of getting the paddle into the water in sort of your haste to get away. In a way that was not just splashing really hard.
Sweaty hands.
And as you get clear of the house, the island, and at first you think it's just the house behind you or some of the other houses, starts collapsing. But it's actually the entire island just collapses into itself. And there's kind of a wave. And it knocks your boat over as you try to kind of row against that wave in a kind of a weird way. You're not really kind of pivoting the boat to ride the wave. You're just kind of splashing against it, and all of a sudden you flip. You take two constitution or 2 strength damage. In the wrong game there for a second. You take 2 strength damage, so your strength goes down by 2. For those 3, Poppy, Yonarla, the Dead Seal, and Doric. But you're able to sort of hold on and kind of right your... Actually, make a dexterity check, each of you. I'll make it for Poppy.
4.
Well done, Yonarla. How's it going, Doric?
Probably not well. Oh my god, I passed. I rolled a 2.
That's awesome. Yes.
That's amazing.
Goodness. Because you got a 4 in that stat, yeah?
I sure do. Yep.
Poppy does not pass.
Oh no.
So she gets separated from your boat and loses the seal. Yonarla, you can try to find Poppy or try to find the seal as they're being washed down the river. What are you going to pick?
Oh, those cheekbones are so nice, but she got a scrape. Oh, the seal.
You've got rope just to throw onto something, or rope and a net just to throw onto something. You're going for the seal?
Yeah. I had enough fun with Poppy.
Looking back, you can see them sort of like get upset, but you can see that Yonarla and Doric both managed to like stay in their seats even though the boat half rolls and kind of clobbers them. They're able to sort of right themselves, not let go of the boat and flip it back over. Then you see Yonarla kind of get a loose piece of like what looked like a fishing net over the seal to keep it from floating away. You don't see Poppy come back onto the boat, Jonita and Khalu. But what you do see behind them, kind of riding that wave away, is not the debris you'd expect if the island just suddenly collapsed, but it's more like everything on the island just disappeared.
We picked a good time to leave.
But you're able to get back to shore safely.
Is Poppy submerged, or is she just floating away?
Can we see her?
You can't really see her since she had the lantern with her. Yeah, actually, Khalu, you can see her. She's sort of like she's like half submerged, sort of like face down, floating away.
Can I just can I just vibro-wave her to put her out of her misery?
I mean, I was gonna try to paddle up and grab her,
I was
I thought I was cruel.
I'm dying to see somebody blow up from this thing.
Khalu, certainly. Throw that vibro wave around.
All right. Yeah, I just keep firing until she explodes.
Roll that D8.
Okay. Let's make D8. An 8.
There is a sudden ugly popping sound.
Oh no.
She lived up to her
Weird
name.
splash. As you guys hear the vibro waves echo across the water. And there was a little bit of thrashing that sort of identified for you where Poppy, like Khalu could see her because he can see in the dark, but the rest of you could probably kind of like just sound locate roughly where Poppy was, even though she wasn't able to yell out since she had some water in her lungs.
There's no pain with it, with the vibro wave.
Yeah, there's no pain with the vibro wave, unlike drowning.
Yes.
And there's no more splashing sounds. There's just the sounds of waves on the river and the river continuing to run downstream. You're able to get back to shore. And I will tell you this, that those bronze rings, people think they're interesting, but they're bronze. You end up being offered for three, for the three of them, really the four of them, you'll get £1 for all four. So you could each take like 25 pennies. Unless you're really gonna like couple them with something. So what's your approach to trying to sell these things?
Well, there are 4 of them, right? So, we sell 4 of them with 4 of the topaz things, and we're like, these are reanimator collars and brain gems. You put this on a loved one's corpse, right? And they're right up and walking around like nobody's business. It is a miracle.
And we have the instructions too.
You do have the instructions.
We
Sort
do,
of
yes.
like, are you borrowing a corpse to sort of break this on, Yonarla? I mean, it would be illegal to do that with a human corpse, of course, but
We certainly have one big
A
blubbery
seal.
corpse with us.
oh yeah. So are you getting the seal butchered?
It's not quite a mockery, but it's a mockery of life itself. Goodness. I
Let's start
am
with
a
the
show
seal.
person.
Let's start with the seal, since that is the thing that is easiest to just sell straight up front.
Okay.
It doesn't require any context.
Well, I was saying use the seal as a test dummy to I mean, the meat isn't what's important. It's the pelt. So we parade around this skinned fucking seal that walks around reanimated.
So the butcher will give you, the person doing the butchering will give you roughly 20 pounds if to you for the carcass, and he'll sell the pelt and the meat.
Okay.
He'll handle the selling of that, of the pelt and the meat. He'll make sure that they are in good shape. Is 20 about right?
Make it an even 22.
He grumbles, but he's like, 22. All right, 22. You put me out of business, but sure, 22.
And we
How
need the
often do you
skeleton
get a
for our
storm?
demonstration.
Yes, we need
Yeah.
a skeleton.
Okay, yeah, he'll save a skeleton. It's gonna take a couple of days, but he can get that skeleton cleaned off for you. So what is this demonstration you're doing, and who are you doing it for?
Are there some like aspiring necromancers in town?
There's definitely people who study life, death metaphysics and technical metaphysics, arcane technologies and things. I mean, necromancy is it's a tacky word,
Right.
So can we find like a meetup where these people are?
I mean, you can go to the university. There's definitely like independent researchers. Like, where are you going to kind of position yourself? Open marketplace.
I'm sure there's like I'm sure there's a sect of Ulipo, exquisite corpse reanimators that just really appreciate the art of reanimation, not necessarily scientifically speaking, but rich fucks who just really like investing in baubles and art that they can show to their other rich friends.
There's certainly a few of those. I think the person who seems most interested, from what your approach, is a man who specializes in undertaking for the rich.
No way that could go wrong at all.
So he's an undertaker. He has several wealthy clients. So what's the demonstration you're putting on for him?
Does anyone play an instrument? No.
No.
I don't know. I've got some circus buddies from my gang who can play a fine tune and we can have the seal skeleton dance along to it.
So the as you try to get the skeleton to dance, it doesn't do much. But the head, when you put it onto that yellow topaz bead, sort of turns as if it's listening.
So we give it commands, right? Like the.
Oh, but I have a bone magnet.
Are you forcing it? Are you forcing the? Yeah, it's you don't.
I use the bone magnet to like fucking like Mechanical Turk style, make it seem like it does more than it actually will. So we're like totally scamming these guys.
Make a dexterity check just to see how good this scam kind of goes off.
That's an 8.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. He's really impressed. He's like, this is fairly sophisticated. I mean, I'm sure that it will take me a while to, overcome the limitations of just a seal skeleton and get it to work in something as complex and sophisticated and ascended as the human skeleton. But I don't know. There's not really a ring for each of the topaz pieces, and one of the rings seems bent out of shape. £12 each?
Oh, we're wasting our time. Let's go somewhere else.
15.
15 pounds for each topaz and 15 pounds for each ring?
No, for each of the sets.
For each of the sets. And the extra topazes?
Oh, I £5 a piece.
What do you think, fellas? Do you think this guy's really serious about what? I mean,
make it 18 a piece, and you got a deal.
All right, and how much for the individual topazes? Just is 5 fine for those?
8.
8? I like the way you bargain. So yeah, he dishes out 96 pounds for you. Now you've still got these wizard
flowers.
One of them is broken, and you still have the potions.
I think we should sell the wizard flowers to someone else. Not the same guy that we sold the bronze rings and the topazes to.
I'm curious. I want to know more about these potions and what they do with the wizard flowers in them. Like,
now you can look at the manuscripts you have that show the brain sort of crystallizing.
Yeah.
You know what? Khalu will taste one of the potions.
Khalu, make a strength saving throw.
Okay. Let's see. I think it's a 14 again, which is a fail.
Oh.
So which one did you try? One of the red,
the red one.
Blues or the red? Okay. So the red one is rich and tasty going down. You try to drink just a little bit of it, but it's a lot like a really good punch. You're like, I'm not going to get drunk on this punch. I'm just going to drink it slowly. And all of a sudden you've had like a whole glass. You cannot stop drinking this until the bottle is empty, Khalu.
Okay.
And then you immediately start dry heaving.
Okay.
and you get very sick. And for about a day, you swear you're going to die. That this is it. This is the most unpleasant stomach discomfort you've ever had. And then you're not running a fever, but you're dreaming of fire perpetually. And then one night you wake up, Khalu, from a nightmare, and your room is on fire. Being pretty in debt, where do you normally stay?
I think like at a boarding house. Like there's I think like there's other like sunken Rumspringa people who are
Right.
still they kind of stay in this boarding house.
Exposed to people who've been excommunicated.
Yes.
From sunk.
Yes.
So yeah, you wake up and what you'd swear you saw is you woke up, you started to scream, and then flames just shot out of your mouth. And then like the end of your bed caught fire. You were able to put it out pretty quickly. But you now have flaming breath.
Awesome.
Fucking A.
It's a D6 blast.
Oh man. So there are a couple more of these flowers, yeah?
Right. But like making the potion might itself from the flower is a pretty complex process. There's lots of things you probably don't understand the notation of. And Khalu, what were you dreaming about when you woke up? I mean, fire, but what were you dreaming about the fire?
That it was like actually like burning all like my patron, my sponsor. It was actually burning all of his possessions.
Shortly after that, you find yourself unable to like shift your brain away from the sensation of drinking booze. It's almost like your thoughts have hardened onto it.
So I'm constantly thinking about drinking booze.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you've got these 3 other potions. You've got the 4 other or the four brains or the 4 wizard flowers. With the instructions, they might go well to the university, but you might find independent researchers. Which route are you going to go?
I think we should find out if there's any other crazy researchers who have been kicked out of the university.
Okay. Doric, are you involved in this hunt?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I might know some discredited academics.
Yeah, I definitely want to find out more, and
So Doric, since you have sort of the midpoint charisma, I'm going to ask you to check yours to see how well you guys do at sort of tracking down the right buyer for this. Tell me what you get.
I rolled a 5, so that would
5?
be a success.
So this is kind of an alchemical crackpot from an aristocratic family who you have collected from quite a few times, Doric.
Yeah.
And he is more than willing to take out a loan.
Perfect.
To pay you £110
Wow.
for the lot.
Yeah, that sounds great to Doric. Yeah.
That would be the potions, the brains, the wizard flowers, and the instructions. Yonarla, you feel like you sound like you could get a better deal.
I want this guy in our pocket. Yeah, I want him to share his continuing research with us. Like I want him producing some of this shit for us. You know, like if we're gonna keep doing what we're doing, if the Pigeon Street Shucklers are gonna continue to steal shit all over town and sell shit all over town, we got to have something to up our game. And having a crackpot alchemist on our side, I feel like, we go halvesies, and he's, a retainer. Something like that.
So he springs 55 and then you get
him.
Yeah.
How does that sound to the rest of y'all?
That sounds good.
If we make it 56, that's easily divisible by 4. So.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, I like the idea of having an alchemist on retainer.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's more than willing to do 56. It sounds like you got a deal, Yonarla. Good thinking. And I think that's it. I know we are over time, but I wanted to do a really quick sort of roses and thorns or just quick debrief. Do you guys want like a quick break first, or you just want to kind of go straight into it?
Straight into it.
Okay. We won't do Discord. I still don't understand Discord because I'm old and anti-technological. So I wanted to say thank you to you guys, Dylan and Bethany. Thank you for jumping on. Bethany, this is my first time to play with you. That was really fantastic job. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
For really just jumping in the character and jumping in the scene. Dylan, as always, a great pleasure. And guys, really fun to see the characters from 2 weeks ago come back. This series continues on. If you can get into it, I'd love to have any or all of you into it. I think right now they're full, but you never know when someone will drop out. So waiting lists are a thing that works. What roses and thorns would you guys like to share? Anything I would love feedback on. So I'll pass that over to y'all.
Well, this was my first time playing with all of you, so this was it was excellent. Y'all did. I thought y'all did a wonderful job, and I especially liked Yonarla's interrogation. That was very fun.
I had fun with that. Thank you.
The Morgie.
She's a psychopath. She just thinks she's like high society, like perfect, but she's a fucking psychopath. I love it. Thanks.
Yeah, the complete amorality of Yonarla is an inspiration to all of us, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great playing again. I really appreciated it. First time with Beth and Dylan, so that was really nice. I liked where the story went, and
Good.
we didn't really. I don't know if we'd really cracked the secret of the full dark stone, but we certainly got a lot of money out of it. So, which is the name of the game, I think it was really creative. A lot of the things that you did, I've never read I've briefly skimmed before, but that was a while ago. But I really like how you really bastionized it.
Good. Yeah, the full dark stone. A lot of this stuff is straight from Michael. So you may have seen me occasionally go like, "Wizard, wait, why did I say that?" No, they're philosophers, alchemists, and metaphysicians. But yeah, it's a lot of the stuff Michael does is really fun to bastionize because he loves to play with the science fantasy. So it really kind of comes out in a very bastioning way. So.
Oh yeah, I didn't even realize it wasn't like written for this setting. Yeah, it definitely slotted right in.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So, what was the source of the storm seals, or did you just make that one up?
Those come straight out of Michael's adventure. So the storm seals are right there. I thought they fit into Bastion pretty well.
Yeah, they were like exactly the right level of weird.
He writes that they're just like big giant leopard seals, which are scary. Like I thought leopard seals were these cute things you saw on TV, but they're freaking scary. But yeah, they're giant leopard seals who fly through the air. And I wanted to make them more sea lions because that just reminded me of, like, I don't know if it's still the case, but like, sea lions taking over San Francisco harbor, and driving people off their boats and off their docks. And
yeah, that's cute. I like that.
So, anything else? I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but I mean, Dylan, I know you judge me silently. We've played together long enough that I know you judge me silently, but
I really like the character of the professor. I thought she was really fun and interesting.
Yeah, I really liked that, and also it made that whole encounter really, like, what do we do? She's not actually attacking us.
Right.
But what do we do here? I like that we all seem to have different ideas of what to do at different times, like, and weren't able to communicate with each other. So I think that turned out really cool. The only complaint I have is about technology, and I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with
all the glitches today.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with Roll for Your Party. We had the first time we had problems with the double click reroll, but you seem to adjust to them pretty smoothly. So thank you for putting up with it and doing that.
No problem.
And before we do debrief, I should probably have stopped the recording. But 1 second.